Hi, I'd like to talk about pentatonic scales and the use of them in jazz harmony. As a follow-on from my previous videos on chordal harmony from my book Chords and Pentatonics, this is exploring today just the actual pentatonic scales themselves, how they work with conventional harmony. In a subsequent video I'll get on to the combinations of chordals and pentatonics and how they work. So, why pentatonics? I guess pentatonics are such a strong sound. They're the building block of any sort of harmony. And they, in terms of improvising, they create an open sound in your solo, a nice contrast or balance to chromaticism, a way of playing outside the harmony because this sound is so strong, a way of implying different harmony, a way of actually outlining extensions of chords quite well. So in terms of this video, any pentatonic scale I'll refer to just the major pentatonic, 1, 2, 3, 5, 6. If you prefer the minor version, 1, flat 3, 4, 5, flat 7, of course that's just an inversion of that major pentatonic or the relative minor pentatonic. Alright, so in terms of pentatonics and getting to understand them, again in conjunction with chordal harmony, if I build a chord from C in fourths, consecutive 5 perfect fourths, I will end up with the notes of a pentatonic scale. In this case, A flat major pentatonic scale. Right. So the combination of the pentatonic and the chordal harmony is very strong. In terms of practicing pentatonic scales, I've got some exercises in my book, but there's plenty of resources out there just to get your fingers around these things, practice various patterns, that sort of thing. There's lots of different ways of getting used to them, but you really just need to spend time with them in every key to get used to the sound of the pentatonic scale and how they work under your fingers. Alright, so let's dive in and look at our various standard harmony and what scales could work with what chords. So let's look at a minor 7 chord, in this case a C minor 7. The first obvious scale should be an E flat major pentatonic scale, which is really the same as a C minor pentatonic. And of course, minor pentatonic highlights a minor harmony very well, very closely related to the blues scale, of course. Right, so pentatonic scale built from the flat 3, right, will work very well. Pentatonic scale built from the flat 7, in this case B flat, right, is also quite nice, and that tends to open things up a bit more, give us some nice extensions like the 9th and the 11th. I could also build a pentatonic from the 4th or 11th. In this case it's a lot more open and ambiguous because now we're actually playing no 3rds or 7th in the pentatonic scale, but we're outlining things like the 11th and natural 6th, which is of course related to the Dorian harmony, and 9ths, and it's a very nice sound, okay, much more open sound. If I wanted the more darker Aeolian sound, I could build the pentatonic from the flat 6, right, and that's going to give me my sort of darker pentatonic sound. All very useful pentatonic scales with a minor chord. Now one way to remember these is, if you think of the chord root, in this case C, move up by a 4th, you get to F. That is the root note of one of my pentatonic scales. Another 4th, B flat, we've also played that one. Another 4th, E flat, and another 4th, A flat. And all those root notes are pentatonic scales which can be used on a minor chord. We'll do more of that when we get into chordal harmony in conjunction, but it's an easy way to remember. Okay, what about a dominant chord? C7. There's not many choices in terms of major scales. I can play the C major pentatonic, it doesn't highlight the flat 7, It's really the only major pentatonic that will work. If I did play a B flat, it's going to give me a natural 4, which in terms of straight dominant harmony is a bit of an avoid note, and especially with the strength of the pentatonic scale, best to stay away from. Same with building it from the 4th. Even though the notes are sort of technically correct, it's not going to sound so good. Some people like to use what they call a dominant pentatonic, 1, 2, 3, 5, flat 7. Really highlights the sound of that dominant scale or dominant harmony very well. I like the altered pentatonic, and this is 1, 2, 3, 5, flat 6, but I'm building it from the 2nd or 9th of the chord. So in this case with C, I build it from D, 1, 2, 3, gives me my F sharp, 5, flat 6, right? So that gives me a nice Lydian dominant sound. I like building it from the 6th or 13th note, starting with that semitone from the scale, or another way is the 5th of that pentatonic. Gives me a nice sharp 11 on the top, and it's sort of an exotic sound as well. Note that this particular harmony or pentatonic scale can work with all modes of the melodic minor or jazz minor. More on that in a minute. Okay, what about a C7 sus? Well, that's easy. I can play a B flat. Here my B flat and my F pentatonics will work extremely well because I'm now highlighting that natural 4. What about an altered dominant? So if I play a C7, sharp 5, sharp 9, completely altered, what sort of pentatonic can work? There's only one major pentatonic scale that can work on that, and that is built from the sharp 4 or flat 5, right? In this case being G flat. And the interesting thing about that is that it gives me all my extensions or alterations, I should say, in that harmony. So sharp 11, flat 13, flat 7, flat 9, and sharp 9. Right? So a high degree of tension associated with that very major pentatonic scale on that very altered dominant chord. Of course, with the dominant altered chord, I can play my altered pentatonic scale, the melodic minor harmony. So in this case, I can build it from the sharp 5. And that works. Alright, what about dominant chords built from more the diminished harmony, like half step, whole step, diminished scale, right? Where everything repeats at the interval of a minor third. There's no major pentatonic that will work over this harmony. So here there is an altered pentatonic called a flat 2, 1, flat 2, 3, alright, 5, 6, that will work on that harmony. And that, of course, will also work on every note of that harmony built up by minor thirds. Same with diminished chords as well. I don't want to get too involved with that particular scale at this stage. Really, I'll be concentrating mainly on major pentatonics for reasons I'll explain. But know that these pentatonics still exist and can be used quite successfully. And our last chord, well, not a last chord, we haven't really covered our major 7th chords yet, which is an important one. Major 7th we can build from the root, obviously. The 5, which gives us a nice 9th in there. And of course the 2nd, which gives us a nice Lydian harmony, which is one of my favourites. Minor 7 flat 5. Now again we've got a bit of a problem here because there's two sorts of harmony that can go with that chord. Either the Locrian, which has a flat 2 in there, or the Locrian natural 9, which has a natural 2. So if I wanted to use, technically I could use a flat 5 pentatonic, G flat in this case. But I'm going to be highlighting that flat 2 sound. Same if I decided to use D flat. Right? I'm going to be highlighting that sound, and it's a little bit of an avoid note. It's not wrong, but you find that a lot more contemporary harmony tends to use the natural 2. And again here, if I wanted to, I can use my altered pentatonic, building it, in this case, from the flat 7. Right? lighting now my 9 and my flat 5. Right. So there's the sort of common pentatonics that are used with common harmony or standard harmony. A word on the altered pentatonic before we leave it. It works, as I said, over every mode of the melodic minor. So if you build an altered pentatonic from the 5th of the parent melodic minor, it works over all the modes in that scale. So if I play a minor 2-5-1, D minor 7 flat 5, to a G7 altered, to a C minor major 7, right? On a D minor 7 flat 5, my parent melodic minor is F, 5th of that is C, that is my altered pentatonic scale. Right? G7 altered, parent melodic minor is A flat, 5th of that is E flat, and that's my altered pentatonic that I can use on that. And finally for my C minor major 7, that's the tonic anyway, so the 5th of that is G. Right? Now I build this, as I say, from the 5th of the pentatonic, so that can be a little bit confusing, trying to remember all that. But once you get used to the pattern, it's very, very easy. An easy way to remember it, it's actually the 2nd note of the parent melodic minor. So I'm building that shape from the 2nd of the parent in D minor, which is F. Right. An exotic sort of sound with that scale. I guess it's one of those things you just need to practice through all your minor 2-5-1s. I also practice this on dominant chords if I want that Lydian sharp 11 sound, again building it starting on the 6th, 13th, just going around the cycle of 3rd. So it's a shape you get used to as well. So how do I practice these? We'll come back to the major pentatonics, because as I say, with chordal harmony, that's going to work the best. And it's easiest at this stage. I don't want to get too involved with the altered pentatonics. It's something you can explore later on, but we'll sort of generally focus on major pentatonics.